Anyway, joining us now
Mm-hmm.
on the super secret hotline, we have a cowboy guest. He's very big on YouTube. YouTube is not going away,
It's got some staying power.
I believe. He is Voch Lombardi. Search Voch Lombardi on YouTube. Hey, man.
What's good with you? What's happening? Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing?
How you doing, man?
Man, life good. I can't complain about nothing. And, I'm not just saying that because that's what just people say when they, first say hi to people. But I just feel like life is the shit right now. I'm chilling. Everything cool. Appreciate you for asking.
You have a pretty good-sized cowboy following on YouTube. How did you first get into that?
I'm a Cowboy fan. So, just kind of being a Cowboy fan, you just talk a whole bunch of Cowboys in general. You talk to your friends and your coworkers about Cowboys, and just everybody says the same thing. Oh, you should have your own show, but they don't hire people at the networks. They don't hire people on TV and radio because those people be 70, 80, 90 years old before they retire. So I just did the YouTube thing. I used to play it. I coached a little bit, and I just took that and I put it on YouTube, and people are like, oh, this dude knows a little bit of football, and all you need is a little bit of relevance and people to listen to you. So we've been doing that for about 7 years now, full-time job. So it's all good.
7 years with your YouTube channel?
7 or 8, I lose count. When you do something and don't get paid, you kind of don't really count it. You know what I mean? I've really been doing this for like 15 or so years, but I've been getting paid for like 7. So I say 7.
So about 7 years ago, you hit that breaking point of followers to where you were able to start generating income from YouTube, where you saw your subscriptions rise enough to where, shit, I'm getting some checks in the mail every few months now.
Well, 7 years ago, I got fired from my day job, and I had to do something.
Yeah.
So, I guess when you get fired from your day job, you just put more time into your hobby, I guess. And once you start getting paid a little bit more, it's not a hobby anymore. So, I was YouTubing as I was working at this job, and I leave that job to work another job, and I thought I was doing good at that job. Hell nah. And I'm just YouTubing and working, and I guess I would work a 12-hour shift here, come home and give YouTube 4 hours of my time. But I guess if you give YouTube 12 hours of your time, it'll happen quicker than 4,
What was it? Was your growth and your growth in following like 100% organic, or did you spend equal amounts of time in promotion or hire somebody to do social marketing for you?
Man, social marketing probably wasn't even a word like 8, 9 years ago. Like now YouTube is like TV. So yeah, they got people that, I went to college for YouTube audience building or whatever they do, or just whatever it is. But nah, I was just making videos and making bold takes and just being right about it. When you make a bold, loud take, people want to know like if you're right or wrong. And if you're wrong, they're going to show up and call you goofy or stupid. And when you're right, you get to call 80 or 1,000 or 80 or 90,000 people stupid back, and I am a loud calling 80,000 people stupid character. So I guess that's how I built it organically.
And you do cool breakdowns. I like the breakdowns of different players that you'll do. And one of the bold takes that you seem to have is you're a fan of Deuce Vaughn.
Yeah. I mean that's not a bold take. I mean. Well, that's not a bold take in my opinion. If you just watch Deuce, he just looks better than, I don't know, the other 3 or 4 running backs that they roll out there. But let me just be clear about my Deuce Vaughn love. I may loudly say, hey, Deuce should be on the team, right? But somebody would hear that as, oh, Voch thinks that Deuce is incredible and amazing. Nah, he's just better than Zeke, and he's better than Connor, and he's better than Royce and all those guys, right? If the Cowboys went and found a real running back, drafted a real running back, or signed a real running back, then Deuce probably wouldn't get as much loud support from me. But yeah, we got old man Zeke, old man Dalvin Cook, and hurt man Rico. Yeah, Deuce would get a lot of loud support from me. So yeah, Deuce, I think, he's a top 3 running back on this team for sure. Top 4 running back on this team, yeah.
All right, you didn't say better than Rico, though.
I do think Rico is a better overall back, and he's shown a little bit of being a better overall back, and Deuce would have to do it like in a real regular season game. But Deuce does some things better, better than Rico. So like this wouldn't be just a one bell cow type running back operation. We need 3 or 4 or so guys. So yeah, I would love to have Deuce and Rico in tandem with some other running back that can do something good or positive for us. So yeah, Deuce may not be better than Rico right now, but he's definitely better than the 30-year-old running backs that we have.
Can he? I don't know if you broke this down or not, but I remember a big, at least the argument against Tony Pollard a few years ago when Zeke was clearly declining, but then Zeke would be in there on important downs was, well, Zeke, he's great at pass protection.
Mm-hmm.
Is Deuce able to do that at all?
Yeah, Deuce is he's great at knowing what to do. He's great at IDing pass pro, and that's half the battle. But Deuce is 5'5". Now, yeah. I didn't call Deuce small because Deuce ain't small. Deuce is short. He's just a big muscle of a character. So he can toss his whole frame into somebody and make a block, So yeah, shouts out to Deuce for doing that. But let's just be clear. And I'm glad you said that, man, because I've been getting into a lot of fights about this. When we look at running backs, we look at them running. You know what I mean? Like the first conversation about running backs should be running. So when I get into a lot of fights with, I guess super extra pro Zeke people, and not that I'm an anti-Zeke person, but if I don't say nice things about Zeke, they'll fight me for it. One of the first things that they bring up with Zeke is, oh, but Voch, he can block. Oh, but Voch, he's a leader. Oh, but Voch, what about third downs? Okay, but what about first and second downs? What about the long yardage? What about the other little stuff? What about things that aren't blocking? If you have this hyper focus on your running back being able to block, then take the fullback Hunter Lipke and make him your blocking running back type character. I don't want somebody to, just to purely evaluate your running back on blocking. They have a position called blocking back, and it existed in the 60s, and we don't do that no more.
Yeah, and I guess the big point on that would be you want to have somebody out there that gives some kind of an idea that there might be 2 different plays. Like, you're not in there just to block.
For sure. When you... Yeah. When you build running back rooms, you want to limit the redundancies as much as you possibly can. If I was a defender, if I was playing linebacker for somebody and I see Zeke limping out there, I'm like, oh, okay, he's either finna block or it's going to be a short yardage situation. They're not going to, run this, bubble or this seam with Zeke. I mean, Zeke catches passes, but it's like an emergency when he does. It's not like we're intentionally making you a part of passing offense. I think Rico Dowdle last year was an intentional part of your passing offense. I think Deuce Vaughn, Mike McCarthy said this loudly, hey, we're trying to make him a part of our passing offense. Zeke would be a part of your passing offense if your first 4 reads didn't get the job done. So yeah, you're right, 100%. Just keep the looks as muddy as possible for the defense, but Zeke doesn't muddy up looks. I had to make this a segment about hating on Zeke. I mean, Zeke cool. He all right. Shouts out to him and his family. I know all them, but yes, if Zeke is on the field, you know what's about to happen for sure.
Yeah, it is what it is. They didn't really address that in the draft either. Do you think a nice 4th-round pick could have been used for a running back this year?
Well, we didn't have one because we had to spend our 4th-round pick to go and find somebody to compete with Dak Prescott, and I guess be a contract negotiation tactic and all that kind of stuff. But shouts out to Dak. There's always a new savior for Dak haters every single year, and Trey Lance just happened to be one of them this year, but they threw that out the window after like 8 or so practices. So yeah, Dak lives again.
Do you think there's anything there with Trey Lance after he's gotten every snap of the preseason? What do you think about him?
I mean, yeah, Trey should. It's the problem, right? If Trey was just a miscellaneous dude that we never heard of, and he was on a cheap contract, making like $38 a year or something like that, and he wasn't this very high draft pick, and he didn't have a name, and Jerry Jones didn't secretly trade a 4th-round pick for him, yeah, Trey Lance probably wouldn't be putting up this much hubbub, and we'll look at him and go, okay, this is a good athletic kid. let's build him up and let's have him around for a couple of years and let's parlay his athleticism into some RPO stuff. And you got arm talent too. Well, let's develop that and hold on to him for 5 or 6 years. If you think about Jordan Love, right? Jordan Love sat down his whole year, his whole career, and he just showed up one day at 28, 29 years old. He's like, all right, we're starting and I want new money. So I think sitting down guys and just letting them develop up under other superior, players. I mean, yeah, it could benefit them. But if you throw Trey Lance in that high water, and mind you, Trey Lance is a guy that probably played like 1 year of high school football, like maybe 2.5, and then he goes to college or whatever. Then he plays 1 year, and then his next year that he was supposed to pop out and show everybody was like COVID and all that kind of stuff. So he played one game and like sat out. So Trey Lance hadn't played a whole bunch of football versus like a Brock Purdy that's played 7 years and then he goes to the league and he's ready day one. Trey's not going to be a day one guy. If you have the mindset of sitting Trey Lance and just letting him shut up and develop, then Trey will be fine after 3 or so years. But if you bring him in with this idea that he's competing with Rain Dakota Prescott, that's goofy behavior.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, you obviously don't bring him in if he doesn't have that pedigree or the high draft pick and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not hoping he beats out Dak. Like, you would just like to see him beat out Cooper Rush. If he's got that. And they've given him every opportunity to do that, and it seems like he was unable to do that still this preseason.
Hey man, Cooper Rush is a tough character, man. It's hard to beat somebody that doesn't turn the football over, that is on schedule, and if Dak were to just gonna knock on wood real fast, but you don't have to change very, very much of the offense if Rush has to come in. Now, Rush isn't going to be as good as Dak, but Rush is very much so steady. Trey Lance is exciting, but he'll throw 5 picks in a preseason game or whatever. You know what I mean? So Trey is just not his time. But I do like the idea of what Trey could look like in 3, 4, 5 years. And if it takes you 5 years to build him up and fix him and develop him, and he sits behind Dak, and one day when he's 29 years old, just like Jordan Love did, right? Just like one day he just pops up and he's just a better dude. That'll be a fantastic investment. But this year you're probably missing that draft pick for that running back, just to go back to your previous question.
So I just have this feeling, it just feels really weird this year. And I've had this before going out to training camp. Is they had a really great year the previous season, and everybody just talks about how, well, they're obviously going to be in the playoffs this year. We just have to take that next step this year. And I've seen it, and this was, back in different eras, the different quarterback, different coach, but it's happened a few times where the Cowboys, 13-3, they won the NFC East, and then they don't even make the playoffs the next year. Just something terrible happens. And so because of that, I wanted to predict that for this season. The vibes we're getting, it's just everybody seems too overconfident. And then when I look at the rest of the division and when I look at the NFC, I'm just unable to find a way that the Cowboys don't make the playoffs because of what you just said about Cooper Rush. I think he's a solid backup who can at least, and that's why I wish Trey Lance was better. This is a very stacked roster. It's a very good roster, and they've got a lot of weapons. How do you feel about that as far as looking at the entire NFC? You think there's a chance the Cowboys could just shit the bed this year?
It can happen to anybody. This is a pretty even league. You got to go out and play every single week and earn your wins or whatnot, right? But the Cowboys, as long as you have 4, you're gonna be winning double-digit games every single year. Quarterbacks, typically, they turn a page and they just turn into a different dude right around this age, right around Dak's age, like 30, 31 to like 35 years old. That's when dudes really turn into dudes. Like Ben Roethlisberger can win a Super Bowl and play horribly, but he wasn't throwing like 500-yard games till he was like 32. The same with Drew Brees, the same with, Tom and all those guys. And
that's what Romo used to say that too, right? About once he was upset that his body was breaking down right when his mind was at the perfect level to be a quarterback.
hey, the shit sucks. You just keep playing and you learn the game. You just never stop learning it the more you watch it. And I think Dak and I mean, look, man, look at rookie Dak, look at Mississippi State Dak, and look at who he is now. He's a whole nother dude now. And as long as you have that dude, you're going to compete and it's going to be close. You're going to, beat your division and all this kind of stuff. So, and ever since, I mean, Dak has never had a losing season. He's probably had like an 8-8. And like Dak has been hurt, and that's when the Cowboys will tumble and shit the bed. But Dak's never had a losing season. So as long as that dude's healthy, you're gonna be good to go. You're never restarting. You're always just retooling, and you get rid of guys and you bring some other guys in. But as long as Forrest's slinging it, you're probably going to be a playoff team. Now, where are you going to be in the playoffs? Hey, man, who knows? But I think you're competing for the bye week just like you were last year and just like you were the year before.
So we talked a lot about offense. I did want to get your thoughts on the defense because something that we haven't talked enough about, at least on our show, is how Deron Bland is going to miss the first 2 months of the season. And now that could be a big loss. But just switching from Dan Quinn to Mike Zimmer, how he's going to use Micah, this new batch of linebackers. I feel like there's been a lot of change defensively. How do you see the defense starting out, at least while Deron Bland is out?
Hey, man, all you got to do is take what they did last year and just be a little bit better than that, and you'll be good to go. And I don't want to take this opportunity to hate on Dan Quinn or poo-poo up on him, but if you look at what the great teams do. For example, look at how the Browns use Myles Garrett. If you watch Myles Garrett, sometimes he'll be over the left tackle, sometimes he'll be over the right tackle, sometimes he's over the center. And there'll be many games where I'm looking at Micah Parsons, and look, don't get me wrong, I think Micah would do great versus Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas is an elite left tackle, but I'm like, but like, Dan, that dude over there sucks though. Like putting Micah versus the dude that's garbage. And he'll just be in one spot the whole time. And then Dan will come out in the press conference and be like, oh yeah, we're going to move Micah Parsons all over the place. Don't worry about it. And then we'll go against the 49ers. And look, I think Micah versus Trent Williams is a fantastic matchup. One of the best left tackles in the league, Trent Williams. But that kid over there, McKivitz, the right tackle, is hot ass garbage. Take Micah Parsons and put him against the hot ass garbage guy. And how many times have we seen Micah get a sack lined up over the center or just whooping some guard that just can't keep up with him? And we'll get that sack and Dan will go right back to putting Micah ass right there over the right defensive end. I don't want to poo-poo on Dan too much because he did some great things for this defense, but I think that we had so much talent on defense last year, it just kind of made him lazy. You just didn't really see a lot of, movement and innovation from him. And, shouts out to Zimmer. He just said the other day, Louisville said this about him. He said, let me think and y'all just go out there and do your thing. I don't think Dan Quinn did a whole bunch of thinking. I just think, hey, Micah's great. Lawrence is great. Bland shutting shit down. Let's just let y'all go out there and just be great. I think now you're probably going to see a lot more moving pieces. You're probably going to see a lot more safeties moving around and muddying the looks. You've seen Dak come out and say this. Oh, yeah, Dan got the safeties and the linebackers moving around. Like, we're actually going to use more linebackers now on the field at the same time. It won't just be some nonsense like J-Ron Curse, who's 215 playing linebacker, or Marquise Bell, who's 205 playing linebacker. You really got 230-pound linebackers, 240-pound linebackers. Micah playing linebacker now. So I just think if you just use your best player, like all the other teams use their best players, I think you'll be good to go. Bland is hurt, but he'll be back around November or so. So then when he comes back, you got 2 all-pro corners, and you could just line up and just be better. I don't care about what you do in the first half of the season, first quarter or whatever the season, because we typically beat the hell out of teams in the regular season. But I just need everybody to be healthy when we get to January. If everybody is healthy once we get to January, man, you got all kind of talent on that field. And I think Zim is going to do he's going to do things differently than what Quinn did. And just one last point on Zimmer. No, he has this reputation of beating the hell out the Shanahan dudes. Notorious reputation of beating the shot at the Shanahan tree. So when we play like the Lions, the Texans, the 49ers that we're going to have to see, like all these guys that come from that tree, I don't know what he does, but Zimmer just got secret sauce for those move around motion type offenses. So we're going to run into one of those teams in the postseason in January. And I just want I want Zim to be good versus those guys.
Yeah. I mean, what you have to know, what every team knows is odds are everyone will not be healthy.
Sure.
So that's the thing about Bland being out. At least Diggs is back because Diggs was out last year. So yeah, once he does come back, that'd be nice. It'd be like a trade deadline deal. Have you done a film breakdown of Mozzie?
I've done plenty film breakdowns on Mozzie, 100%.
Yeah. They can't be positive.
Mozzie done some good things. Yeah, I got some pretty positive things about Mozzie, sure.
So there's light at the end of the Mozzie tunnel?
I didn't say it was light. Okay. I just said
there is something positive.
Some nice things about Mozzie. Yeah, I mean, to be fair to Mozzie, we can't just, want him to just be fresh out the box, ready to go. Because that's not how like one techs work. If you're a top 15 or so pick, like if you're a Jonathan Allen type guy, Deron Payne, Quinn Williams, Jeffrey Simmons, those dudes are really, really good like day one, but they're top 15 or so picks, right? Like you figure those guys would be great. Mozzie's like a guy, he got drafted in the 20s, so he's really like a second round talent, and second round and back, those dudes really aren't who they are yet, because you gotta learn the game on the fly. The game is a lot faster for you. You 330 pounds, so if it's fast for somebody that's fast, it's way fast for your ass. And then you got to get in your man body. You got to get football strong. There's a lot of things you have to do. And then once you get football strong, like there's technique and things involved. Typically, the one tech that goes around that range, year 3, 4, 5 is when they really turn out who they are. The Ravens have a guy. He got a goofy name, and I can't say it, but I'm gonna try to say it on your show. Justin Madubuike, got it. He just got paid after his 9th year, and he was bad for like 5 or so years. But just last year, he got double-digit sacks just playing 3 tech, and they like, damn, where the hell you come from? He got big, he got strong, and he figured football out. So hopefully it doesn't take Mozzie 9 years, but typically we just don't roll these guys out the box just ready to go day one, to be fair to Mozzie. So yeah, he'll be another backup again this year, and we'll be having the same conversation next year about him.
What do you do game day? Because I was going to say, we'd like to invite you, not for everyone or whatever, if you don't have time, but we do some game day streams. We have like an 8-game schedule this year.
Yeah,
where we will just watch the game and have a little watching party, and would love you to join us, but don't know what your schedule is usually.
Hey man, just like y'all, I am making money watching the game. I just turn my camera on, and there's a lot of excitement and theatrics, and me and my audience are laughing at whoever the Cowboys beating the hell out of. So yeah, man, one day we'll do something like that. Figured out if y'all do like a college football.
Can you do a simulcast?
Sure.
How does YouTube work, Voch?
You say how does YouTube
tell us about the internet.
Teach us YouTube.
You cut on the camera. You cut on the camera. You plug in a microphone and you talk and get paid. That's typically how it go.
Yeah,
and we're still trying to figure out the getting paid part.
Yeah. We're operating as a nonprofit.
Keep doing it long enough, and at some point they're gonna send you an email and be like, "Hey man, what you waiting on? Go ahead and sign up for this," and it'll be happening in no time.
So we have to check our email too. Jesus.
There's so much.
Why do we have to do all this?
Crime. They emailed y'all last year, but you missed it. So yeah.
They
waiting on y'all.
All right, man.
Can you explain? Can I ask a question? Oh no.
Go ahead. No, please.
Of course.
I just wanted to know how you felt about the CeeDee Lamb contract. I was talking to somebody, and he seemed like a little concerned that it's going to affect like long-term players, like being able to keep Micah Parsons, or I don't know. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on the CeeDee Lamb contract.
Nah, man. The Cowboys gonna have a lot of money. The salary cap typically doesn't exist. But Micah's definitely gonna get his money. They're gonna find a way for Micah to get his money. And what you can always bank on is that when it's time for somebody new to get money, somebody older is not getting money, right? So we just brought in somebody now. They got some money, but we're not paying Tyron Smith anymore. We're not paying, Biotis or like some of these other characters anymore. So by the time it's, Micah's turn to get his money, we may not be paying Zach Martin anymore. And then, the Cowboys, actually the whole league just gets more money to pay guys every year. So the cap may go up like $20 million or something like that. And if you ain't got enough money to sign Micah, you better cut somebody's ass and make some money for him.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, and this is just a hypothetical, they could either keep Micah or Dak.
I think it'll be foolish to have a franchise quarterback. The one thing that everybody fights their entire life for and you have one and he finishes second in the MVP and he's in his quarterback prime and you to just go, nah. Like there's GMs that'll literally push their wife off a damn bridge to have Dak play quarterback for them, because a franchise quarterback changes the whole visual, the whole landscape, the whole everything about your franchise. Like if you got Tom Brady, the Patriots the shit. Tom Brady gone for a year, now they ungrateful. You know what I mean? Like it's like I was outside when the Jags weren't a good football team. Trevor Lawrence makes the Jags they're visible every year, contender every single year. Same about the Texans. The Texans wasn't, you know what I'm saying? Like they were bad. There was Watson nasty, Watson gone. Texans was bad again, and now you have new life because like CJ Stroud is there. So I think it'll be goofy to just feel like you could just find some other quarterback and be like, okay, well, we're just going to start over with Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield doesn't bring new life into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He can go to a playoff game, but is Baker Mayfield cousin in the studio or something? My bad.
No,
but
his
yeah,
big ass head is.
Oh, shouts out to him. But yeah, man, shouts out to Baker Mayfield.
No one ever believed in him, Voch. Even
I understand.
You don't believe in him.
But
he's an underdog.
Baker is the same kind of guy like Geno Smith. He'll win you some games, but he's not taking you to the promised land like that. He's not changing the atmosphere around your team. So yeah, man. If Dak leaves, it'll be a weird place. You'll have a cold ass pass rusher and no quarterback. You the Raiders when they drafted Mack. We got Khalil Mack and no quarterback. We cold on defense. We get a bunch of sacks, but we can't play offense. So
you're the Steelers for the past 5 years.
Or the damn Pittsburgh Steelers. So just hypothetically, keep your quarterback.
A quarterback attracts talent for sure.
Yeah, the thing with Dak that we all know is that he's not Brady. All franchise there's how many 30 major league teams. Every opening day starter is not an ace. Mm-hmm. So that's the question then is, where does Dak rank, and can he, what you just said, take you to the promised land? That's the age-old question, and just I guess with the way the economics are, it's very tough to, like you said, just let him. You can't just let him go. But
everybody says, or a lot of folks will say that Dak may not be a top 5 quarterback in the league, but he's good enough if you build enough pieces around him that he can win a Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, but if he's taking top 5 money, it's hard to build around him the way that you should.
That's true, but how many more pieces does he need to win that Super Bowl?
They have a lot around him.
I think they've been loaded for a number of years where he's been at the helm. I'm not trying to rag on the guy, but I'm just asking, how many more pieces do you need?
Patrick Mahomes didn't necessarily win the Super Bowl by himself last year. He had a top tier as defense that just kept him in those games. And Patrick Mahomes can play terribly for a half, and then coming out of that half, he'll throw the ball right to San Francisco. Oh no, Pat threw an interception to San Francisco, and the defense will play lights out, keep him within range, and then they win the game at the end, and Pat Mahomes gets all the flowers for it, right? Like, we just can't, okay, well, when we win, we all won, but when we lost, it's Dak's fault. Like, that just can't be a real assessment of how we look at, Super Bowl teams and team building and all this kind of stuff. If you look at every single playoff game last year, with the exception of maybe like one of them, every quarterback played goofily for like 2.5 quarters. And then their run game and their defense bought them time. And then there was this surge of offense at the end of the game where they went to go win the game. The Cowboys didn't have the luxury of just stalling and figuring shit out to the third quarter. By the time we come out the half, Green Bay got 24 points on the board, and we're like, all right, shit. We're throwing the football, predictively throwing the football, and that just puts us in a deeper hole. Like, I don't think. Of course, and let me just be clear. I don't want to be Dak homer, Dak apologist guy. Yeah, Dak could have played a much better game, but there was 24 points on the board before he could even be like, all right, well, let's get this offense going. Like,
he did give him 7 of them.
I mean, sure, but just like my original point, right? Super Bowl, Pat Mahomes plays a terrible half, throws an interception coming out of that half, puts his defense into a hole, but the best teams just figure it out. Let me ask y'all, do we have a defense and a run game that can stall one of the best defenses or offenses in the league. We don't have that luxury, you know. And to be fair, let me just say this. Can I say something also too?
Please.
I don't think this ain't something that's just being said now. We'll always hear somebody say, "Oh, Dak Prescott is trash. He's not as good as Pat Mahomes, Tom Brady, or Josh Allen." Well, shit, that's the top 5 right there. That's top 5 guys. If Dak Prescott was as bad as one would say he is, we'll be comparing him, to Baker Mayfield and shit. We'll compare him to, you know, some of the lesser quarterbacks, but Dak is always in this conversation with the top 5 or so guys. And let's just be honest. We don't say this about Jalen Hurts. We don't say this about CJ Stroud. Like, those guys have filled their roster out to the damn water pours out the cup. And we don't say this about these guys having too much around them. Trevor Lawrence ain't done shit. Justin Herbert ain't done shit. I just think that Dak Prescott is a cowboy. So he gets the different kind of criticisms and, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, when you say he's in the conversation with the top 5, it's because we're saying, is he one of those guys? And then saying, no, I don't think he is.
He finished second in MVP, and they don't get that shit away on accident.
He did do that. He put a lot of numbers up.
Sure.
And so did Brock Purdy, who finished, I think, in the top 5 of MVP voting. And nobody would say Brock Purdy is even close to a top 5 quarterback.
Why wouldn't you? I agree, but why wouldn't you? Like, what's the qualification for a top 5 quarterback? And I think it changes every year. And it at one time when it's like postseason, it'll be like whoever wins postseason games is the best, and then they restart the preseason and they go, all right, well, whoever's the most talented is the best. If you put Dak Prescott versus Trevor Lawrence versus Justin Herbert, everybody will say that Dak is the worst out of those guys, and you'll ask why. They'll say, well, because Dak doesn't get it done in the postseason. Neither do a lot of these motherfuckers. Nobody does. So I mean, that's my whole point there.
Yeah.
What it is for me, and this is more of an emotional thing than a logical thing, but you're a Cowboys fan just like I am. Mm-hmm. And basically, since Romo took over, it's been the same episode of the same TV show where the Cowboys are very, very good, never eliminated from the playoffs unless a drastic injury happens. But it's the same story over and over again in the playoffs. And that's why I want something else. I'm tired of watching the same story over and over and over. So that's why I'm in the camp of let's let Dak walk. And you mentioned those really good quarterbacks, so those teams that were garbage. I think that's a part of the build process. You have to be garbage to find the good players to take you over the next step. You know, the Cowboys are constantly drafting at 20, and that's not how you build these good players. So it's not a logical decision, like I said. I just want something else. I want something new.
Yeah, so the league doesn't reward mediocrity. You have to be like at the bottom, you know, to get any kind of hope.
So listen, I don't hate what you're saying. I agree, actually. Like, if the same thing is happening after a while, you have to do something different.
Nothing ever changes because nothing ever changes, right?
But my only pushback is in football, I would like for the next character to do the job at least as good or better than the next character. That's my only pushback on that when it comes to this sport. So if you say, well, Voch, how about we move on from Dak and go draft a quarterback or something like that? Draft somebody that's probably a more talented quarterback than Dak or was a better prospect than Dak. Sure, I don't have a problem with you saying that. But now I'm going to go, okay, well, what have the past 8 or so first-round pick quarterbacks look like? Like, what do those guys look like? And man, Mac Jones in that conversation for you. Trevor Lawrence, you'll have the same gripes about that guy. Justin Fields is in that same conversation. Trey Lance is on the damn team with you. Zach Wilson about to be working at Whole Foods or something. Just because you're a first-round pick doesn't mean you automatically hit. It's a weird thing about quarterback in the NFL. I don't think we really don't know how to evaluate them. You know what I mean? They just kind of show up one day, and sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, sometimes we hit on them, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're super talented, but they can't win games. Sometimes they're trash, but shit, they won. Nick Foles won a Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's weird like that, just quarterback in general. But if you can find me a quarterback better than Dak Prescott, we can boogie. But the only way you could do that is you'll have to stumble upon a Pat Mahomes. You have to stumble upon a Josh Allen or a Joe Burrow. And you don't stumble upon dudes like that. of course, to your point, you have to be trash and be there. But even first overall quarterbacks, that's not 100% hit rate. I would rather the bird in my hand in this situation. Two in the bush will get you fucked up in this league. Two in the bush will get you so fucked up in this league thinking, oh, well, Dak, I can find somebody better than the runner-up for the MVP. Can you? For real? Good luck. I can find running backs all day, wide receivers, pass rushes all day. Find me the good quarterbacks that's better than Dak Prescott. And you may name 5 guys, 6 guys, but truly better than Dak Prescott, it's tough. So I just think you're just stuck with him because you can't find you can't find something better.
Yeah, for sure. But if you could get 80% of Dak for 40% of the price, I mean, that's where the value comes in, because you talk about Burrow, Cincinnati built around him when he was on his rookie contract. And I think that's what a lot of these GMs are trying to do, is build around a rookie contract quarterback so you can give him enough tools to succeed.
Yeah, that makes sense. But like, I mean, shit, they're building around Geno and he's just Geno. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like, he's just,
takes a certain
all right,
quarterback.
Geno, we have the best wide receiver core around you. You got 2 stud running backs and gangsters on defense. Go win it. And Geno just run out of superpowers because he's Geno. Like, that's my whole thing, man. What's 80% of Dak Prescott, man? Let me just try to figure out real fast what's 80% of him.
Yeah.
It's not a good quarterback for real. And if Dak's not as great as one would say, 80% of somebody that you're trying to move on from, that ain't good. I mean, I'm not loudly disagreeing with you in that way. I just think it'll just make more sense to just keep Dak and just build around him. And look, I don't even think that Dak's salary cap number necessarily matters here, because the Cowboys can have cap numbers, but that don't mean that they're just gonna go sign somebody. But on the flip side, if you look at the Eagles, yeah, Jalen Hurts is making some money. If you look at the Chiefs, Pat Mahomes, all those guys are like making money. Those teams just choose to sign guys. Those teams choose to bring in the extra help and to just leave nothing unturned out here. So yeah, you can team build and do all these things with a high paid guy. It's just that, you know, you just got to have the 1-2 to do it, and the roster, salary cap gymnastics to be able to do it. But if it's me, I'm not trying to move on from Dak. I just want to put better pieces around him and, try to make his life a little better.
It's good stuff, man. We appreciate your time. We'll send everybody over to your YouTube page, Voch Lombardi. Just look up Voch Lombardi, VOCH.
Yeah.
What's that short for?
I'm not finna put my government name out there for the creepy ass YouTube people get their ass whooped when they run up on me. So
Okay.
Nah, we'll just leave it at that.
Are you trying to tell me Lombardi is not your name?
Lombardi's definitely my name for the goofy ass YouTube people that's gonna research me and run up on me and get their ass whooped for no reason.
He's teaching us so much about YouTube.
I know.
We don't know anything, Voch.
It's Voch Lombardi. It's all good. That's my government name. That's the name that my mother gave me allegedly. So it's all good. That's what it is.
Okay. Well, we appreciate your.
Don't hurt me.